It was Miss Pope.
She spoils her fellow council members.
She does.
She's very kind. Thank you so much. No one buys me chocolate bunnies, so I appreciate it. I'm the buyer of chocolate bunnies, so.
Purveyor of chocolate bunnies.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Good evening. I call this meeting of the Greenbelt City Council to order. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Good evening, Miss McKinney. Here. Miss Pompey. Here. Miss Pope. Here. Miss Niesel. Here. Mr. Roberts.
Here.
Miss Weaver.
Here.
Mayor Jordan.
I'm here. Let's pause for a moment of silent reflection as we think about people who have suffered from violence, war throughout the world since the last council meeting. Please join me and us. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you so much. We hold council work sessions and meetings several times a month to exchange information, stakeholder groups, gather information from staff, advisory boards, residents. At meetings, we actually take actions. So our work sessions and meetings are always open to the public, except for executive sessions as authorized by state law, so that residents and others can observe council's deliberations. We strive to provide reasonable opportunities for the public to voice opinions on matters being considered, and we'll pause periodically for public comment. So the first item on the agenda is, in fact, petitions and requests. It's an opportunity for individuals to make a statement, to pose a question to the administration or to council. If you wish to make a petition or request, you need to raise your hand if you're in the room, and after being recognized, we'll invite you up to the podium. If you need to state your name and where you live in Greenbelt or in the general area. If you are on Zoom, you can raise your virtual hand and we'll recognize you and promote you so you can speak, or you can enter a question under the Q&A tab. And if you are watching on cable TV or on Facebook or YouTube, you can send an email to us at questions greenbeltmd.gov. So basically, you've got up to 5 minutes, and we always ask you to be considerate and to stick to one question or one comment, if at all possible, and please avoid questioning the motives of others. So at this time, are there any petitions or requests? Yes, please. Mary, could you speak into the microphone a little bit? It seems like it's not, you've got such a quiet voice.
It needs to be on.
There you go.
There you go. That's
Take
it.
3.
It's a good thing I'm not an audio person, huh? I'm retired from the city of Greenbelt. I was the former director of human resources for the city. So good evening, Mayor and Council, and it's nice to see you. Last week, steps were taken towards a restructuring of the city of Greenbelt's administrative staff. The city code requires that any restructuring or reclassification plans must first be approved by City Council. I have reviewed the minutes and the agendas of several recent City Council meetings, and there has been no mention of any such restructuring or reclassification of any city department or staff members. To make sure that I did not miss something, I asked this question of the City Council last week in an email that I sent to each member. I've yet to receive a response, and unfortunately, without a response, I'm assuming that the City Council did not approve such action, but I'm assuming that. By the steps taken last week, resulting in the dismissal of a longtime employee, months away from retirement eligibility, the city is now in violation of the personnel regulations outlined in the Greenbelt City Code. I've been aware that the restructuring process may be referred to in the proposed budget, which is being presented tonight. In that case, the budget is being proposed and has not yet been approved by the City Council and will not be approved until sometime in mid-June. Why are the proposed actions not yet approved being acted upon prior to Council passing the budget? Again, a violation of Greenbelt City Code. Will other employees be affected? And why would the city take an action that is so severely affects a longtime employee with a stellar record of service to the city for over 29 years? She was, I believe, within 5 months of being able to retire, eligibility for retirement. Why would the city protect the retirement and well-being of someone that has served the city so well for all these years and has gone above and beyond to serve the citizens of Greenbelt? The city has historically been a place of values, and it values the individuals and employees, and I know that because I worked here for a good number of years. The city's a wonderful place to work. So why now has an action been taken towards a yet unapproved action that so negatively affects the financial future of a long-time dedicated employee? The city of Greenbelt has made arrangements in the past to give all employees a fair chance at working towards a successful retirement. This has been the case even when employees have struggled to serve the city so well. It is usually the case that when you work hard and you dedicate your life to a position and treat it as your lifelong career and use your position to serve our customers, the citizen, that one day you're rewarded in retirement. In this case, the city has pulled the rug out from a well-deserving employee and denied them full retirement by implementing an action that is not within the city code that council and staff are required to abide by. The action without the approval of City Council is in violation of the Greenbelt City Code. So my question is, did you approve it? Or am I missing something?
Well, under petitions and requests, it's a personnel matter, and we don't
See,
provide a response. We do have.
now I can understand that, but I view this as a policy, not a personnel matter. It's a question of policies and procedures.
So appreciate the petition, but
I have a
Well,
comment.
I really
Thank you.
would rather.
Well,
you
yes,
not,
I have a comment, because I want to let you know, I haven't replied to your email because I'm not in a position to get my emails right now.
Oh, okay. Thank
So
you.
that's why
Well,
I'm not
thank you for letting
ignoring
me
you.
know. I appreciate
And,
that.
yeah, that's all I can say right now, but
Okay, I
yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other petitions and requests? Please, sir.
Bill Orleans resident. Before I make my petitions request, I'd like to remind council that there's nothing that prohibits council from responding to a petition and a request in real time. It just chooses not to. For more than a year, I've been pursuing several requests of council, unsuccessfully thus far. But I'm going to take my time. I restate those requests. I'm going to take my time tonight to make a new request of council. Last Wednesday night, council staff made a trip to Annapolis for the annual legislative dinner with our delegation. And a change of the practice since I've been back in town 20 years, that it was held annually in December or maybe early January before the session in Greenbelt. Greenbelt certainly was the host, presumably paid for the dinner for the delegation, and incrementally received a return from that dinner because it took place in a Greenbelt hotel. This year, for some reason, it was changed. I can recall discussions at council in recent months about Senator Washington's desire to meet initially first with the mayors only of the 22nd district, and then council suggested that that was fine if he chose to do so, but council insisted on continuing the practice of having that legislative dinner in Greenbelt as it related to Greenbelt's concerns. I don't know why this was changed, but my question is, who was the host this year? Was Senator Washington the host? Who paid for the dinner this year? Did Greenbelt pay for it at Harry Brown's in Annapolis? I've never been there. I understand it's a very fine restaurant, also very expensive. Who paid for it? Who was in attendance? Was it the full 22nd District delegation? Was our school board member there? Was our most immediate county council member there? These are questions that could be answered in real time tonight, and I would appreciate an answer tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I would hope,
Sir.
that this is not a
Sir.
precedent for future years.
Sir. Let's see, Council Michelle. No, I think we should move on. Factually, you're incorrect. We usually have a mid-session legislative dinner, and it's always in Annapolis.
Session is
Yes.
always in Annapolis because it's more convenient for everyone, of
For
course.
the delegates
And
and the
then in
senators.
the one in
Otherwise, it couldn't
December,
come.
we usually have here in the city. So we usually have two, mid-year in Annapolis, and then in October, in December, here in the city.
Who was the host and who paid for it?
City of Greenbelt. So let's move on, and this yelling across the room is
Is there a
inappropriate.
reason why we can't provide a list of the people present at that meeting?
Well, it's just that I don't want to be shouted at, so you know,
That's
you
the
can ask
point
me
of
nice.
petitions and requests. The city manager and the clerk will actually follow up with a response.
That should be information that should be provided.
That's fine.
And it's not a
now.
problem, he can have it, it's just the way you asked. The way you asked, that's the way it is.
Hey, are there any other petitions or requests? Hearing none, we should move on to the next item on the agenda, the consent agenda. I'd like to remove item number 20 from the consent agenda, which is municipal building finance department renovations. Are there any other modifications to the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'd like to move that we adopt the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Mr. Pope is seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. And then the agenda itself.
Mr. Mayor, did you move the letter? Did you want to discuss the letter regarding
Yeah,
the
we should
CB22?
discuss that under legislation, and there may be a couple of other items. So, Ms. Pompey, would you like to make a motion to add those items under legislation? Legislative updates, perhaps?
I move to, what am I moving to do them? We want to add them to the,
Yeah, under Section 3.
under section 3, we want to move to add those to,
To the agenda.
yeah. I'm going to move to add the legislation items to the agenda.
Yes.
Yes?
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. So that's going to bring us to presentations. And let's see, we've got, in keeping with its designation as a Tree City USA, Greenbelt issues a proclamation annually in recognition of Arbor Day. This year, Arbor Day will be celebrated on Friday, April 26, 2024, and the Advisory Committee on Trees Act members, Chair Charles Jackman is here, but also Bob Trumbull and Ethel Dutkey are on the committee. I don't see them here right now, but Brian Towson, who is the Assistant Public Works Director, is here. And would you come forward?
Not here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Greg, yeah. So, yeah. Oh, sorry. Hey, if you could come forward, I'm going to read this. And come on up. Yeah.
You have to hear the proclamation first.
Okay, come on up. Whereas Arbor Day was first celebrated in the state of Nebraska in 1872 in response to a state proclamation urging settlers and homesteaders to plant trees to provide shade, shelter, fruit, fuel, and beauty for residents of the largely treeless plains. And whereas on that first Arbor Day, more than 1 million trees were planted in Nebraska's communities and on its farms. And whereas trees reduce the erosion of topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees in Greenbelt increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of our business areas, and beautify the community while protecting our environment. And whereas Greenbelt is recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and is pledged to continue its tree planting and tree care practices as well as its policy of preserving green space and forests to enhance its historic green belt. And whereas to these ends, the city in 2000 established an advisory committee on trees to study, investigate, and advise council on matters related to the city's tree resources, and in 2003 established a Greenbelt Forest Preserve, and in 2007 established a Forest Preserve Advisory Board to monitor its management and maintenance, and in 2010 joined the Baltimore-Washington Partnership for Forest Stewardship. Now, therefore, I, Emmett V. Jordan, by the authority vested in me by the citizens and City Council of Greenbelt, do hereby proclaim Saturday, April 13th, to be Arbor Day in the city of Greenbelt, and urge all of our residents to support efforts to protect our trees, which are a connection to our past, a pledge to future generations, and a continuing source of joy and spiritual renewal for all of our citizens. So I'd like to present you with this proclamation, and if you turn this way, we get a photo for the news review.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much. So if you'd like to go to the, no, thank you. If you'd like to go to the podium and give us a quick update, it looks like we've got some great volunteer activities planned for Arbor Day, which is something I always look forward to. It's going to be a beautiful sunny day. The temperature is going to be about 65.
Great.
as you mentioned, Ethel Dutke and Bob Trumbull are also on the advisory committee on trees, and our staff liaison to the committee, Brian Townsend, is also very supportive. And unfortunately, Ethel, Bob, and Brian were unable to attend this meeting tonight. But fortunately, we have John McMillan of Public Works, who is giving his support to our committee. And I would like to thank the City Council for their multi-year support of our urban canopy. It's an amazing urban canopy. 62% of our city has trees. So Arbor Day will be celebrated, as the mayor said, on Saturday, April 13th at 10 a.m. in Buddy Attic Park, and it's going to be celebrated in the South Cove area. And so let me just point that out. Can you see this? Maybe it's tough.
I can
to
see it's South Cove. That's over by the dam.
It's down here. Yeah, here's south.
A little bit south.
It's
Yeah,
coming
here's Crescent Road.
coming down.
Here's the main the parking lot.
There we
Here's
go.
Greenbelt Lake
Uh-huh.
in blue. So the South Cove area is down actually near Charlestown North Apartments,
Okay.
and also
Oh, yeah.
by Lake Crest Drive. So if you want to attend the event, the closest way, unless you want to walk about a quarter of a mile or so from the parking lot, would be to park on Lake Crest Drive. So at the event on Saturday the 13th, we're be planting about 100 small trees, and some of these are all native trees. Some of these were given to the city by the state of Maryland Department of Natural Resources last year, and these trees include red maple, pin oak, honey locust, witch hazel, eastern pine, as well as other varieties of native trees. And this event will also include trash and litter pickup, as well as the removal of some invasive species. So thank you very much for your attention. Do you have any questions or concerns?
No, it sounds really exciting. 100 trees, that's a lot of trees. We're going to have to get lots of volunteers, and maybe we can do special outreach over to Charleston Village and Charleston North and Bell Point to make sure that we have enough volunteers to cover all those trees.
Yeah,
Okay, I will do that.
great. Okay, thanks a lot.
And I'm going to ask a question. I ask this every year, and I hate to do this. So, over Arbor Day, it's something that should be celebrated year round. So, how many trees do you think we can plant in the next year? We're working on the budget, so now usually Brian can come up with the answer, but how many
maybe
trees
John
can we plant? Right, it's not can we, it's almost will we plant. What do you think?
You can always plant more if there are issues that occur. We're still recovering from the previous 2 years ago 4th of July disaster. That's part of actually some of this planting is to actually recover from that. A lot of those trees were left as habitat, but we're actually going to be planting in a lot of sprigs. It all depends. So the more small trees you plant, you can plant a whole lot of them, but your chances of survivability are fairly low. So the larger the trees, the higher the survivability, but then it becomes a cost issue. So we usually shoot for a sweet spot of about 150 trees a year, between an annual budgeted year, about 150 trees.
Yeah, and you brought up a serious issue just in terms of the trees that we've lost due to the climate change and the severe storms, and also some of the invasive species like the ash borer.
Yes. Yeah, and so a lot of that is that's why the removal of these invasive species is so important. It provides habitat for these trees to actually grow into. If you don't have as much competition from the invasives coming in, then you have a much higher success rate reaching that much more mature community of hickories and oaks than it's kind of always going back to a much more rural stage where you're dealing with a lot more of this honeysuckle. The better the canopy, it's going to smother a lot more weeds and weedy species. So it's very important to continue our planting efforts, and as he said, try to increase as much as possible, but there are limitations in biology. You can't just plant a whole bunch of trees in one spot and expect everything to blow up and be extremely vibrant. It's just competition for resources. So we have to plant judiciously and make sure that it's in such a way that we can ensure the survivability of what we do plant. And so it's not a wasted effort on the part of the city and not a wasted effort on the part of ourselves, and plant in a very sustainable way.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your efforts, and to the advisory committee on trees keeping us on track and with our tree master plan and so many other strategic and thoughtful plans to move ahead with. So yeah, thank you very much, and definitely look forward to seeing you on the 13th. Mr. Roberts.
Thank you for coming out today. I appreciate it. But I want to share something with you. There's a funny thing about trees. They actually grow up by themselves a lot of times.
True.
And so a lot of times we should be helping them and letting them grow up by themselves. We don't have to plant every tree in the city. In fact, I think most of the trees we have now, other than the ones near the buildings and stuff that we clearly have planted, are, volunteers. They came up. And we should pay more attention to that and not destroy them when they're coming up. You can look at around the community center, it's pitifully low on trees right now. And we planted a couple out there, but it's nothing like it used to be. But we were depending on just a few big trees. And over the course of the last 50 years, I guarantee you, thousands of little trees have tried to grow up from those big trees only to be mowed down. And had we not done that for 50 years, had we let some of those trees grow up, we would still have some nice mature trees over there. So managing our trees and having a tree cover is not just going out and planting trees, at Arbor Day or Earth Day or whatever it is. It's about letting nature grow sometimes. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And Earth Day is coming up in April as well, on the 22nd. So it's a chance for us to celebrate our tree canopy and heighten awareness about trees and the canopy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we've got the award of the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Award for FY 2024 budget. The city, Greenbelt, has received the GFOA Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for its fiscal year 2024 budget. This award is the highest form of recognition in governmental budgeting. It recognizes that Greenbelt publishes a budget document that satisfies national guidelines as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and as a communications device. Bertha Gaiman, City Treasurer, you will accept the award? Okay. I don't really have an award. Where's the award?
I think it's there. It's on screen.
Oh, there it is.
We have it.
Yeah. Let's have a round of applause. So, this is quite an honor, and if you look at the city's brag wall outside, we receive these awards every year, pretty much, and it's a reflection of the thoughtfulness of our staff in terms of preparing the budget in such a way that it truly is a policy document and something that communicates what the city's priorities are to our residents. So you want to say anything about it?
Over here.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited that we earned the award last year, and we are looking forward to doing the same this year with the 2025 budget. As you said, the city has received this award for many, many years prior to my arrival here. So I was happy to be able to keep it up, keep it going. It's been a while. So I certainly didn't want to let the city down. So I'm grateful that we have it. And again, we're looking forward to 2025 award from GFOA.
Okay, thank you so much. I just want to say that the budget preparation is very much a team effort, and it rises from staff, from the bottom up. So as far as the way that it's actually combined the administrative staff, the department heads, and the rank and file employees. It's a team effort, and that's one of the reasons why I think that's one of the reasons why we receive this award, because of the process that we go through. Council also does its part by changing things around at the last minute.
It's a little more than changing things around. It
But
provides
congratulations. Hey, so the next item is actually the budget presentation, but I forgot to mention something. Today is Holi, which is a very significant Hindu festival celebrated as the Festival of Colors, Love, and Spring. It celebrates the eternal and divine love of the deities Raha and Krishna. And additionally, the day signifies the triumph of good over evil. So I just wanted to share that, because it is an important festival, and many of our residents here in Greenbelt celebrate the occasion. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda, the budget presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Gaiman was being modest with her words about the budget. This 2023, the requirements for the award have been higher and have been progressively getting higher standards. There's a lot more requirements in the budget, and we are responding to that trend in this year's budget. So you're going to see a couple new things in the budget, and because we're trying to stay ahead of those high standard requirements. So you'll see some of that reflected in this year's budget, and we're excited to present pillars in a strategic framework. Obviously, we are going to have further discussion about them with council, but that's a new addition to the requirements of the GFOA and our effort to respond to those changes. Budget book. As you know, budget takes a while to get done. Here's the book, if you could pass that down.
Whoa, this is heavy.
It is. It's over 250 pages.
But we cut it down some.
And we reduced some of the pages. Reduced some of the pages by creating some synergy between some of the categories like issues and services. We were able to reduce some of those, some of that content by consolidation. Other things such as the supplementals, we're able to move more data to the supplemental and include some into introduction. So without further ado, let me get started on the agenda. What you can expect today. Next slide, please. We're going to cover the introduction of the foundational pillars we discussed. This is as an effort to respond to greater alignment throughout the budget. One of the things, the feedback that we received from the entity is making better correlation of all the services and activities throughout the entire budget. So the team worked really hard at identifying foundational pillars that are present throughout the entire organization as a way to approach our work. Before moving forward, I want to acknowledge the budget team, because Mayor, you stated it well that this is really a team effort. So it takes the effort from all of our department heads, the administrative staff, the individual teams, individual employees to provide feedback on how to best deliver our services to our clients and what kind of resources we need to deliver those services. Now, part of the budget team is Ms. Gaiman. I want a special acknowledgement to our PIO office, James and Chandra, who are the chief architects of this redesign. So there's a design, a new layout, and a very unique way of presenting, conveying such vital information on the operations of the city. So then we'll discuss council goals. For the council goals, I've included summaries of previous council goals. That includes the 21, 22 goals in 2023, and our most recent retreat draft goals for 24. Obviously, council has not discussed those final goals and has moved to adopt them. You'll see them presented in the budget book, and those will change depending on council's direction on those goals.
Appreciate that. So on April the 2nd, we're actually having a retreat where we'll be drilling down on these goals a little bit more for this year.
I've also included the outcome areas. The pillars, the foundational pillars support council's goals and outcome areas. So there's a direct correlation on our pillars and council's strategic direction for the city. Then we'll have some select 2024 accomplishments. Just a few weeks ago, we held the quarterly update, so we had pages upon pages of the accomplishments for our teams. In this budget, we condense just top-level accomplishments. Council has access to all the accomplishments from the quarterly update, and we can make those available. Go into the budget highlights. We'll talk about the budget focus areas and issues and opportunities, which has a dedicated section in our budget. So previously, you would have seen those spread throughout the consolidated in one area by topic and by pillar. So unique. Okay, so the foundational pillars. These can also be found in the letter that we have included for council. That's on page 16. So we wanted to align our work to deliver on council's goals and outcome areas. And so we've created these 6 foundational pillars that serve as the guiding principles steering the trajectory for the city with purpose. So they are exceptional service, where we aim to continue to provide top-notch service to our residents, customers, stakeholders. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, where we aim to incorporate tools identified in our DEI study and to ensure we maintain diversity, equity, and inclusion for all who work, play, and live in our city. Collaboration and partnership, where we aim to continue building positive relationship with our constituents on a local, state, and national level. Preparedness and resilience, where we aim to become more proactive, and put plans in place to prepare for the worst-case scenarios and build a stronger sense of community and engagement. Sustainability, where we aim to continue recycling, promoting green living, and emphasizing the importance of preserving our surrounding. Smart economic development and innovation, where we aim to put in place mechanisms to help the city to continue to grow and be competitive with our counterparts. So that's on the goals. This is the outcome areas, and the outcome areas are a framework that was developed by council several years ago, and it has continued to build on this framework. This framework has specifically delivered the priorities that are found on page 23.
Sorry to interrupt, but I don't think that it's updating the slide on the Zoom. It's still showing the opening slide, the green proposed fiscal year 25 budget, not what's on the screen up here.
So you want to scroll to page 15? 23.
That's where council's goals begin, and want to introduce the 2024 goals.
It's still stuck on the first screen. When you advance that, it's not advancing on the Zoom.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you please turn to page 26, and in FY24, City Council and City Manager held retreat led by the Maryland Municipal League to work on collaboration and set a strategic direction for our community's future. The direct result of this meeting is that council tentatively identified the following goals, which are to be finalized in a future council meeting. These goals are set out for the next 12 to 18 months, reflecting a strategic and community-focused vision for the city. That includes adopt a Vision Zero plan, expand public safety services, expand activities for young people, review the city charter, explore a new ball field or fields in Greenbelt West, explore the possibility of district war voting districts, pass a balanced budget without increased tax burden on residents, which we are delivering this year. This is a balanced budget and maintains the current tax rate. Make city operations carbon neutral by 2030. Explore better ways to communicate with our residents. Questions on outcomes, areas, and goals? Obviously, council, we haven't discussed these, but these were the direct result of the retreat that we held.
Let's keep going.
Okay. All right, so now moving on to what are the key influences that inform this budget. Council in 2024 adopted the compensation study and fully loaded the compensation study. So for FY 2025, we wanted to ensure that we were honoring the commitment of council to pay fair and competitive wages for all staff. So the 2025 budget reflects that. They're also within a high inflationary environment and high competitive environment. We made a commitment to continue funding to support 2% COLA and 3% merit increases. This is directly in line with keeping up with the compensation study and market conditions.
It's important.
Yes, provide funding for capital projects and building capital reserve funds. Work with a constrained fiscal conditions, reducing real estate revenue, and the closing out of ARPA funding. So our financial constraints are not unique to Greenbelt. We're seeing it at the state. We're seeing it at the county. So many jurisdictions around, and particularly the state and county, have had to make difficult decisions to work within the constrained financial environment. Mr. Roberts, you have a...
Mr. Roberts, please.
I just wanted to ask, I know you said that you're going to keep the tax rate the same, but that means that everyone's going to get a tax increase because, the assessments are going up. So what's the average increase that people are going to get? Because we don't do a constant yield. We keep it the same and then everyone gets a tax increase.
We'll have to calculate on the increase of the appraised values as they're increasing. However, the tax table is included in your budget. That's on page 293. We include the tax rate for the city over the years going back to 2015. And we also include a tax table comparing our tax rate to surrounding municipalities. So our tax rate for this year stays at 82.8 cents for every $100 of assessment. Did that answer your question, Mr. Roberts?
Thank you, appreciate it.
This budget also reflects council's vision and goals. Specifically, I want to point that one of the items addressed in the 2024 retreat was the adoption of the Vision Zero plan. This budget and our capital project includes funding of $250,000 to develop that Vision Zero plan. So that's being reflected in this budget. And finally, maintain the current high level of service delivery, public safety, recreation, amenities for our residents. In this item, I'm specifically talking about many of the ARPA activities that were funded. Sorry, the activities that were funded with ARPA funding. So that includes crisis intervention work in the police department, crisis counselors and cares, food distribution. So this budget brings two positions, the CIT position and the CARES counselor's position, into our operating budget. We also bring in, we're supporting the supplemental food program that has been funded through ARPA. If you recall, we have a monthly food distribution where we get a set amount of food distribution from Capital Area Food Bank, and we supplement that by buying additional food through the ARPA dollars. In 2025, we're using general fund money to replace that revenue source for that food supplemental program. So that's that final item. Moving into the accomplishments, we presented many of the accomplishments for 2024 in our quarterly update, and there'll be a lot more to present at the next quarterly update. But for the purposes of this meeting, we want to emphasize that we completed the phase one of the DEI report. The phase one, we completed that. We also did the transitionary step that Ms. Davis specifically asked for, which was how do we get feedback from the boards, commissions, and committees? So we're doing that work. We're working on phase two. It's budgeted in 2025, but with council, we've been discussing that when we find the money to do it earlier, we'll do it earlier. That's been a request from citizens. So we're actively working on that. When we identify funding to be able to support that work, we will do that. We will fund that project. That's the step that we've taken with the Spring Hill Recreation Center projects that you're approving tonight. Those items were not budgeted in 2024, but we identified the savings to be able to respond to that immediate need and be able to do that work. So similar strategy we'll execute with the DEI Phase 2 report. Public Works oversaw the completion of several major projects, including HVAC improvements, the municipal building youth center, bus shelter, and the youth center gym floor. And they'll oversee other projects in the next quarter. The Bud Attic Master Plan is underway and expected to be completed over the summer. Council has had a work session on that project. We intend to bring that back over the summer months for final approval or adjustments as council deems necessary. The city added a number of positions, key positions in 2024. It hired the city manager, deputy director for community development, community planner 1, IT security analyst, and animal control supervisor. Next slide. Numerous recreational projects are underway, including the Batty Attic Park, a new playground basketball court at Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center, major renovations planned in Brighton Field, baseball and football, and Shrums Hills Park, that's for soccer. The city maintained the following designations: the Tree City USA, Playful City, Bee City USA, Sustainable Maryland Certified, Green Power Partner, Maryland Smart Energy Committee, and has been awarded the Certificate of Achievement and Excellence in Financial Reporting and Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, which you provided tonight. Human Resources launched a self-use electronic PowerPoint for new hires, simplifying the orientation and onboarding process. PIO staff continues to expand accessibility of meetings with streaming through YouTube, Facebook, and enhancing closed captionings. I love it when I hear the mayor of College Park tell the mayor that I saw you on Facebook, in a good way. The police department was awarded reaccreditation at the November CALIA conference. This is the department's 6th award of accreditation. This is the gold standard of police operations. Our accreditation is good for 3 years. And I know that, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that's another achievement, continuity of that achievement of the CALIA accreditation. And we really have not been able to acknowledge that at a council meeting. I think that's something we should probably do.
We'll put it on the next council agenda. Mm-hmm. We don't give ourselves enough credit for some of these accomplishments. Yes. Okay, this is a budget at a glance. This is also in your presentation, and sorry, in your booklet. You'll have these items. The next page, I want to direct you to page 60 in your budget book, which is going to be the next page on the screen. Puneet, if you can change slide. This is James came up with this concept to visually illustrate our inflows and outflows, revenue coming in, revenue going out. So what you're seeing in your book is what's up on the screen. Our total revenues in the general fund are $37,956,200. Our expenses are $37,906,000, so $906,700. There's a net of $49,500. This represents a revenue increase of 5.19%, and expenses are up 5.15% from the previous year. What's The revenue stream is broken out by color in the left side. So real estate taxes came in at, or are expected to come in at $22,494,100. That's the green area. Property taxes is the next item. That's $1,820,800. Other taxes make up $4,719,400. I also want to point out their percentages so you get an idea of the magnitude of these revenue streams in our budget. License and permits are $1,302,100. Intergovernmental transfers, $1,633,800. Charges for services, $2,259,400. If you're wondering what are the charges for services, Greg Vardes is responsible for the vast majority of charges for services. So he does a great job at our camps or programs and all of these items. And if
It's the
he could
truth.
have the entire city, he would have us filled with events. The following are fines and forfeitures. That's 694,000. Interest income, we're estimating $150,000. This is interest that we earn on our deposits. We have our current funds are generating more than that, but with you turn on the channels, the news channels, there's a looming reception in a financial crisis, and interest rates are going back down. We're being conservative with this number, but if you see our actuals to this is different from current operations. Miscellaneous revenue, 398,600, and interfund transfers, 1,484,000. Any questions on revenues?
Yeah, I was just about to ask. So we are living in some very uncertain times, and with interest rates and occupancy rates of our office parks and so many things in flux, I appreciate the fact that we have been very conservative in our budgeting. But how is our reserve policy, the one that we have in place, that's been in place now for about 3 years, 3 years, how is that going to help us deal with some of the uncertainty in revenues?
The 2021 policy is very explicit on how it addresses net income for the city. It allocates it in rainy day fund, capital funds, budget stabilization, and they're broken out by percentages. We have been able to build a healthy reserve across the accounts that should we have a shock in our financial revenues, we can absorb. I would say, short of a gloom. Sorry, this is Bertha's domain,
okay.
so I don't
It's
want to
okay.
speak out of turn.
No, you're saying exactly what is true. I also remind you that we have $2.1 million in set aside for abatements that may come in. So that number has been growing every year. So it's about 2.1 million right now, in addition to the rainy day fund and those budget stabilization and the other fund. I forgot just that quick.
Very good, thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Mayor? Okay, so moving on to expenditures. The expenditures are color coded. You're going to see this color coordination across the budget, and that's an effort to link the budget to the expenditure. On expenditures, our single largest department expenditure is public safety. That's at 32.52% of our overall expenditures. That equates to $12,212,800, followed by recreation and parks, which represents 20.79% of our budget. That is a total of $8,102,000. Then we go down to the general government, which is $5,108,600. The others are significantly smaller, but they add up. So planning and development is 3.62% of our budget at $1,393,100. CARES is 4.8% of our budget at $1,902,400. We have miscellaneous expenditures, non-departmental, which are 4.57% of our budget. That's $1,512,300. Fund transfers, 6.66% at $2,534,000.
Yeah, Greenbelt is such a unique municipality. I would venture to speculate that no other municipality in Prince George's County, just in terms of the proportion of budget, puts as much funding aside for recreation and parks. So this circle of allocation of expenditure is very unique, but it's a reflection of Greenbelt's values.
Absolutely. And when you look at direct services to our constituents, if you add Greenbelt Cares and Recreation and Parks, that's over 25% of our budget. I would say that all of our services are directed to delivering constituent services, but those two specifically touch individuals' quality of life. Obviously, Public Works delivers tremendous value for residents. Public safety, you can't put a price on safety. All of that work is people-centered.
People. Yeah.
But yes, we make significant investment directly in our constituents' lives.
Let me back up on that. Not just Prince George's County. I think it's unique in the state of Maryland, the percentage of resources that we allocate towards parks and recreation and Greenbelt Cares. It's very unique.
All right. Every year we talk about staff compensation and any general changes. Compensation, we're honoring the commitment council made in its compensation study and keeping up with compensation. So the budget supports a 2% COLA and merit increases across the non-police employees. As you know, the police compensations are regulated by the collective bargaining agreement, and that is up for renewal. We'll do negotiations in 2025, so 2025 budget includes a shifting of legal expenses to cover negotiation expenses for that legal services. We've included some staff additions modification that includes the creation of the constituent service coordinator position within the city manager's office. We see the ever increasing need and demand for residents for constituent services. I think over the last couple months, you've seen some of the challenges we've dealt with that are unique situations, particularly the Charleston North, that required a lot of involvement that's unique, doesn't fit neatly in any other department. So constituent services, a model is the best vehicle to service that need. We see in municipalities around us have constituent services. Our county council members have constituent services division in each district. So this is following best practices on delivering services for constituents, addressing their needs. We're designating a special events coordinator to coordinate all special events and programs throughout the city. I think many of you or some of you have been at an event and someone forgot to submit a reservation or forgot to pick up the keys or had the event space open, or tables were forgotten, or there's no sound system available. We're trying to correct that by designating a special events coordinator within recreation that's going to oversee special events across for the city, and they're going to coordinate resources within recreation and public works. That's much needed. Now we're formalizing that. This has been necessary to restructure the executive assistant and park supervisor positions, particularly given the $3 million budget gap that we were facing when we started this process. We've adopted the crisis intervention counselor into our operating budget that was previously ARPA funded, and we adopted a CARES counselor position into our operating budget, which was previously funded by ARPA dollars. Next slide, please. The replacement fund It's a short list compared to other years. We're looking at a replacement fund expenditure of $97,300. That includes a transit van for Public Works, a e-ticketing system for the police department, 18,000, and a Chevy Bolt EV for community development, who will be hiring for a position in 2025, which is already funded. Capital projects, we have a total of $1,880,000 in capital projects. The cemetery needs some work. In order for us to address that work, we need to have a master plan on how we're going to preserve our cemeteries. We've applied to some funding for the development of the master plan, but should that come or not come, if we do get a grant, it's not going to pay for the entire project, so we didn't have matching grants. The 70,000 is what we need for the total allocation. So we're planning that in the 2025.
Is that for the one cemetery or for all the cemeteries?
All cemeteries.
Thank you.
And we're positioning our grant application for the cemetery that we have this Revolutionary War history attached to our cemeteries. Greenbelt being a New Deal planned community, and given that the country is celebrating its 250 year, we hope to create those linkages and have a competitive grant application to honor the various cemeteries that we have in the city.
Interesting, yeah.
Energy efficient improvements, that is an ongoing thing. I hope to have some energy efficient improvements in all of our budgets for the years to come. That's part of council at the retreat stated a very ambitious goal to be carbon neutral by 2030. We're going to do our best to do that. I know there's been some concerns about the mass EV adoption, but the energy efficient is looking specifically at reducing our carbon footprint through just energy efficient programming. Gateway signage lighting on Southways 10,000. The Greenbelt station amenities. Many council members have asked, where are we with these projects? It's been years and we came up with planning. In 2024, we've got some shade structures and other amenity improvements. This project delivers more of those Greenbelt station amenities. The Hanover Parkway bike and pedestrian trails at $275,000. That's in the capital budget. Miscellaneous concrete repairs, traffic calming studies. We have some studies underway this year. We need to keep up with these studies. So that's another project that's in there for next year. Street resurfacing, that's $1 million. Street resurfacing is something you just got to do every year. And our team, Brian Kim is in the room. They're excellent at keeping up with that. Our residents want smooth roads, safe roads. Finally, we have the Vision Zero Action Plan and Demonstration Project at $250,000. Another council vision and objective. ARPA. We continue to make work on ARPA projects. I was really excited when Brian Kim and I discussed hosting a tour for all of council, because we're in the nuts and bolts. We're talking about the conditions of our facilities, and when we present these issues, we want council to have that intimate relationship with those projects, because they're directly delivering service for our residents. So with that, we've got those chiller replacements. We've got space study recommendation work still to do. One of those ideas is being discussed tonight. The council has moved that into the agenda. While we're not active, where we haven't settled on a new municipal building, we still have space constraints, and we need to keep exploring options to improve the efficiency of our space. The aquatic and fitness center pool, the mayor spent almost the entire time of the tour squatting in that space down there looking at that facility. You've seen it. It needs some work, so we're planning for that.
There's some serious issues with the pool that have to be dealt with, and it's going to be a major expenditure, and will actually take quite a bit of time to address.
On Capital Projects Council has approved the pedestrian bike master plan to carry out those initiatives. So we'll be working on that in 25. We got the Baddick Inclusive Playground that is taking place now. That's funded by ARPA, and we have the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center playground. Our goal is to have the playground and the improvements to the recreation center, such as the door, the painting, and flooring done right around the same time, so that the entire space feels freshened up. Special acknowledgement to everyone who's worked so hard, one, to put together such a budget that delivers exceptional services for our residents. The two, also closing the budget cap. I'm sorry, I skipped over the issues and services. When you go into the general government, I want to turn over to, James, what page am I looking at?
30-ish?
All right.
40.
Page 40. So before you turn to page 40, the team also look at documents that we put together around some of our strategic planning. And in absence of a strategic plan, we're internally administratively formulating this strategic framework. So this is on page 30 of your book. This takes documents that council has put together, and we're adopting them as our strategic framework in addition to our foundational pillars. Many of these will sound similar to you. It is my vision to inspire, nurture, a welcoming, inclusive community that encourages, embodies engagement, collaboration, equity, inclusion, innovate and improve city services to enhance quality, value, and accessibility for all residents, preserve and enrich our environment and natural beauty to attract people and sustain our city's future, enhance safety and quality of enforcement to advance our reputation as a safe city, plan and facilitate strategic economic development and smart growth to support a variety of businesses, ban and promote alternative transportation approaches to build a more connected and accessible city, foster and sustain affordable and stable city for individuals and families to live, work, play, and retire, improve the quality of education, learning opportunities for our residents and communities' future, and cultivate an empowering and collaborative organizational culture that is high-performing, values employees, and pursues excellence. Following page includes our community pledge. And now we're direct you to page 40, which lists all the issues and services. So this is unique to this year. We've grouped these issues by category. So mental health services, CARES has its particular goals and challenges and opportunities in this area: police, recreation. The following is facilities and space needs, CARES, recreation, language services, staffing. We see language CARES having issues and services around language services. You know, we have many multilingual staff, and that's part of our delivery model. Planning and community development has identified opportunities. Police, public works. It's a lot of content to get through, and I could read it, but for the sake of time, I won't. You have some good light reading ahead of you. Community needs. You see all the various departments and how they're addressing those issues and services. Then we have some infrastructure projects. Following that section is the ARPA summary of funding, of funds available and projects underway and yet to be executed.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for that quick overview of the budget. Obviously, a whole lot of work and planning has gone into presenting this document tonight, and it is going to be available on the city website probably tomorrow, the next day. I think there's going to be a link so people will be able to download it. We'll have a couple of extra copies here. We should send a copy over to the library maybe so that people can access it there. but I'm very impressed. You mentioned a balanced budget, and it looks like it's going to be in the vicinity of $38 million with the revenue and expenses balanced, tax rate of 82.2 cents for every $100. Including the compensation study, making sure that our employees are whole, and also making adjustments in the rates to compensate for inflation a bit. But at the same time, retaining some of the most impactful services and personnel that we were able to add through the ARPA funding, particularly some of the critical response people who are working in Greenbelt Cares and with the police department. Also, you mentioned investments in our recreational infrastructure, the fields, the pool, the Buddy Attic Park, a couple of new positions. So looking forward to working through this section by section over the next couple of months. But that's the way we do it in Greenbelt. We scrutinize this very, very carefully. It's council's responsibility to oversee the budget and set policy. So this is one of the most important jobs that we have. So on behalf of council, I really want to express our appreciation for all the work that's gone in so far. Any questions from council or comments? Because we do have a comment. Anybody online with a comment or a question?
No.
Okay. Well, there's a question, please.
Bill Orleans, resident still. If I could ask Ms. Anderson to kind of project this very colorful slide, revenues and expenditures. It is very colorful, and I presume the answer to my question would be in the budget book, but of course I've not seen that as yet. I'd be interested in knowing the percentage increase or decreases in revenues, but more particularly the increase or decrease percentages with regard to expenditures. And where in expenditures would the money being set aside for abatement reimbursements be? Thank you.
Is it 5 point?
Yes, so as a percentage, it is, revenues have gone up by 5.19% and expenses are going up by 5.15%. What that reflects in total amount is expenses $1,859,700. On revenue is $1,873,003. On the abatement, do you address the question about abatement? He asks, where do we book the abatement?
It's in the budget book, yes.
I apologize. I was actually asking for the breakdown of the percentages by department with regard to expenditures. But as Ms. Gaiman pointed out earlier, there's money set aside to reimburse abatement requests. Since we never challenged them, as I of course think we should, I'm wondering where the abatement reimbursement funds are in the expenditures summary.
If you had the budget book, you would see them in the general fund budget. We address abatements, we see real estate tax, and then there is a reduction for all of the credits that we give people, including abatements. And in this budget, it's about, let me see, I think it's $750,000 for the month, for the year of 2025. Yeah, I need this one right here, yeah. So you will see it right under real estate taxes. And again, there's 500,000 for current year abatements, and then 250,000 for prior year, meaning that it's some for 24 will show up in 25. So, yes, sir. Yes.
Mr. Schachter?
Leon Schachter, 9B Parkway. I have the idea that the budget is able to show an increase in expenses, cover an increase in expenses for some very good things, but only because taxes are going up. And I think Greenbelt has an aging population, and some of those folks will struggle with increasing taxes. So is there any way, is there anything to put a brake on, brakes on an increase in taxes? And then an unrelated point, everything I've been hearing since I've been coming to meetings, which is not all that long, is happy, 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 except there seems to be a tension between different regions or sections of the city with the perception, I'm not saying correct, but with the perception that old Greenbelt gets most of the goodies. So my question is there a way to add something in the budget that shows the percentage of, let's just say, for example only, the percentage of income coming from Franklin Park and the expenditure, the percentage of expenditures being spent on Franklin Park, and so forth for each section of the city, to dispel this notion that the old city is getting an unfair share.
Yeah, those are two interesting points. To the first question about putting the brakes, I guess the only way we could really do that is if there was some way to put the brakes on the property assessments from the state of Maryland, and unfortunately, we really can't do that. And increasing property values is certainly a mixed blessing. If you are selling, I suppose, it's a good thing. But I felt personally that our property, residential properties in Greenbelt, have been undervalued quite a bit. And if you think about the region, and think about Reston and Northern Virginia and Washington D.C., we do have still have one of the lowest median household prices in the entire region. So it's certainly a struggle for many of us in the city of Greenbelt, but with the assessments, we don't really control that. The second point, that's something, as Mr. Hurling would say, we're all about one Greenbelt. So, trying to match the revenues with the expenditures, while it would be instructful, I'm not sure that that's something we would necessarily want to do. That's my own personal opinion. Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, I have a different opinion. I'm sorry to say, but that's something we can't dispel, because you look at, what's going on with the playing fields. Spending $2.5 million down here at Bradenfield, but nothing in the West. So that's the reality. So you can't dispel reality, unfortunately. And, as far as the property values going up, that's wonderful if you're going to sell your house and, I don't know where you're going to move to get another one, but it's good for sellers. It's not good for people that want to continue to live here, because having the assessments and the value go up so fast, it knocks a lot of people out of our community. It makes it more and more unaffordable in a community that was based on being affordable. That's what Greenbelt, the big part of the planning for Greenbelt was, it would be an affordable place for average people, not for rich people, for average people. And so this idea that, oh yeah, it's so wonderful that our property values are going up, who's it wonderful for? Not for everyone. Not for the people that, that want to live here. It's good for people that want to speculate and make some money and move on. But I would rather have a community where people can come and stay, and, Anyway, thank you.
Well, thank you. And I think the city manager, speaks to that a bit in his foundational pillars, just in terms of, and in council goals, in terms of affordability. That's explicitly called out. As far as investments in the community, I think the investments that we are making in the Greenbelt West, Greenbelt Station, in the Recreation Center in Greenbelt West, Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center are significant. So let's, so once again, I want to share council's, if I could, council's appreciation to staff, to you, Ms. Gaiman, and Mr. George, and to all of the administrative staff and the department heads for the thought and work that has gone into presenting this initial look at the budget. And council is going to be grappling with this budget for a while, and it's going to be tough because for the first time, we'll be grappling with the budget without having Jay Davis on the dais with us. So, but somehow we're going to make it through. She's going to be here. Oh boy. So once again, thank you, Mr. Semmer. Thank you, Ms. Gaiman. Mr. George, thank you. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is administrative reports. Is that correct? Or no, the executive set. We need to. When do we put in the executive session? We
Typically not until the end.
right. Did we put that? Did we add that to the agenda?
I'm not sure we officially did. No, I don't know. Do we do that? Do we need to do that now, or do we do that at the end?
Yeah. At the end. Okay.
let's do it.
Fine. Administrative reports.
A lot of budget work. We've included in the administrative report other updates. We've conducted the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center to review all the work that's going to be done. That includes all the painting of all the rooms, the gym, the bathrooms, the multi-purpose room, replacement of the door, replacement of the carpet at the entryway. So we met out there with the Public Works and Recreation team, and Coach K was out there, and we walked the property with Coach K and Miss Caroline, and so we're in a good place with the follow-up items. Questions on our
Oh well, you.
that I didn't get to. Council had requested an update on the potholes for Hanover
Parkway. Yeah, the Greenbelt Road has been repaved finally. It was really difficult, doing that just in terms of the impact that the repaving had on the high school. So it's much better, except there are still several potholes there, particularly on the western side of the lip of Hanover Parkway where it meets Greenbelt Road.
So we're working on it. The team was out last week. They were out today, but there's still some more work to be done on those potholes.
Very good. And you mentioned the playground at Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center a little bit earlier. So as we're moving ahead with the painting and the improvements to the door to the recreation center, I'm very concerned that we have the new playground in place as soon as possible. I mean, the flowers are blooming. It's getting to be that time of year, so we want to make sure that there are places for kids to play basketball and to get together. So how's that looking? Is that something we could expect? Seeing it in the budget, I've been thinking that we might actually have that finished by June or July.
We have Greg in the room. Greg.
Oh, Mr. Varda, how are you?
Good evening. Yeah. Spoke to the contractor about a month ago. He was hoping that we could have a start date in March. We haven't gotten the date yet. We're reaching back out to him this week to see if we can narrow down that start date. We want to get it in place before summer camp. Right. If we can't get it done before then, we probably have to wait till the fall because we can't have we have to have a playground for summer camp, which is mid-June.
Appreciate that. I really put the screws on that contractor if we possibly can. Are they doing any other work for the city?
I don't think this one's doing the playground at Buddy Attic. We have a different contractor for that particular playground. So he is doing some work at Greenbelt Station, this contractor, with shade structures and some other outdoor amenities there. So he knows the the severity of us getting this done as quickly as possible.
Yes, yes.
So we'll reach back out to him this week and see if we can push him a little harder.
Okay. Okay. And in terms of scheduling, there's a call where the National League of Cities is stopping by Greenbelt on April the 15th as a part of its celebration of 100 years of service to municipalities and residents across the country. So there's a call about that tomorrow.
There's a call tomorrow. The effort's being led on our side by Megan and Chandra. So they're coordinating the logistics of that visit. So we'll have more details tomorrow once the teams meet and discuss what the plan is.
Ma'am,
I don't know. I can find out.
let me listen in just to kind of hear, or council members. I don't know if anybody else is interested. And also, I saw some note about is it the Council of Foundations having an interest in our Reparations Commission? Is there a call about that tomorrow as well?
Yes, there's an invitation from County Council about the reparations work. I thought we forwarded that along.
I think I saw it. That's tomorrow also. Is it tomorrow? Yeah, I'd like to know what the time is.
I
for
will make
that.
sure that you get that invitation.
Okay. Yeah, do you have a question, please?
Yeah, I noticed it looks like we got the elevator in the community center fixed. Did I see that in the report? So that's good, excellent. Glad that I know that took a while.
Challenging.
Yeah. So I was glad to see that. One other question I had was, I believe at the council retreat, Tom Reynolds mentioned the idea of a report coming out of that, and I don't know that we've seen that yet.
We have the report. We'll make sure that that Benitez shares that report. We have it scheduled to go out ahead of the work session materials for the April 2nd meeting. So that was on our radar.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure because I was thinking about that coming up and realized we hadn't seen anything, any follow up from that one.
So I'll make sure you get it out we get it tonight or tomorrow, and you have more time, and then it'll be redistributed.
If it's with this week's packet, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we hadn't lost track of that.
And that's what informed the goals in the presentation.
Right. Well, and I think some of us wrote down some other things ourselves, but I just we hadn't seen any sort of formal write up. Thanks.
Okay, other questions? If there are none, let's go ahead and move to the next area. We added under legislation discussion of a few bills, items that came up. There's been a lot of discussion about a county council bill, which is CB 15. And that's an omnibus bill. It's a big bill, and they are making amendments to the zoning rewrite. So, going way back to 2014, extensive efforts had been underway, working with people throughout the community to rewrite the decades-old zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations with Maryland National Capital Park and Planning. So just extensive outreach, over 400 outreach events, public hearings, planning sessions. Finally, in 2021, the county council did modernize the new zoning ordinance, the zoning rewrite. And it just was reflecting the collective vision of what the zoning, what a 22nd century or 21st century zoning regulation should look like. Is it 22nd or 21st? But needless to say, so
skip to the 23rd century.
Okay, 23rd. I guess it is 21st century. Okay, got it. I'm thinking of the future. So long story short, it's been a part of that. In 2018 to 2020, the council did adopt the resolution, but they provided an extension of the old zoning ordinance that was supposed to be in effect until April 1st. So April 1st is coming up this year. It's coming up in a few days. So county council has been going back and forth, trying to, with this County Bill 15, it's a very, very large bill making modifications to the rewrite. But a part of that has to do with townhomes in around metro centers, but also outside of the Beltway. So because council is grappling with this and trying to get something in place, it doesn't look like something is going to be in place by April 1st. And therefore, tomorrow, the county council in the economic and planning committee is actually going to be having considering a continuing resolution that would extend the exemption, extending the old zoning ordinance for another 2 years. So this is coming up really fast, and we just kind of found out about it in the past few days. And on the PGCMA Legislative Committee call that took place this morning, we were talking about it a bit. And so staff, Terry Ruby, has been following this very closely, and she's prepared a letter draft sort of opposing this 2-year extension. Personally, council, I think we've received 10 or 15 emails about this piece of legislation, the continuing resolution, extending it for 2 years. In the PGCMA call, Mayor Thompson from Riverdale Park suggested maybe if it was a shorter period, like 6 months or a year, because it's not just the developers apparently that are pushing this, but also the planning department is having a hard time grappling with all this information. So thankfully, Terry Ruby and staff have drafted a letter for us to convey by email tonight or tomorrow. Tonight, I guess, tomorrow, sort of opposing this proposal and looking for some other solutions. And that went out by email this afternoon. So I'm not sure that all of council has seen this, and I did my best to describe it. Mr. Samarone, or Mr. George, can you kind of
The letter up on the screen. If you Sorry, the letter's up on the screen. Essentially, we're asking for this to be delayed to further. It doesn't. The time that has been granted to the applicants, we feel there's enough time.
Right.
That's the essence of the letter. George, Tim, did you want to add anything?
I am on the line.
Oh, Terry's on the line. There he is.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for drafting this response on this continuing resolution. This came up really fast, so I'm glad that we picked up on it, and I'm glad you were able to draft something. But I know you've been following or looking at the larger bill, the omnibus CB 15 bill. So,
Correct.
yeah, can you kind of describe what this means for Greenbelt?
Well, for this particular CR 2022, as you indicated, spot on, that this basically would extend the time period in which a developer property owner can apply to be reviewed under the old zoning ordinance. And I think what's important to remember is the actual ordinance was adopted in 2018. And then there was a long period of time where the CMA was adopted. So in our opinion, everybody's had a long time to digest this and to transition to this new zoning ordinance. And I think it's particularly important for Greenbelt because the NCO zone is only applicable if somebody is required to build under the new zoning ordinance. So for Greenbelt, that added protection comes with developers, property owners being required to build under the new zoning ordinance. But in essence, at some point, I think it's fair to say that it has to be recognized that this is the first time in 50 years that the county is adopting a new zoning ordinance, one monitored under best practices. And it's time that we implement that and not continue to give, reprieve after reprieve after reprieve. So this letter is really opposing that. I personally, as staff, did not see a reason to extend it. I heard a little differently. I did not believe the Park and Planning Commission staff felt it was necessary to extend it any further, but I could be mistaken on that. That was things I have read. The Sierra Club is leading a charge. I think that's the reason for a number of the emails that you're getting as well.
Yes, it's the Sierra Club. Let's see, Ms. Pompey, you had a pertinent question about whether or not this applies to new developments or that were proposed before 2018, or
Right. That was just my question, and my understanding of it was I couldn't understand if they were asking for an extension for
developments that were currently in the pipeline, or for anyone who's now like new applicants for zoning?
Yes, new applicants.
So anyone that's already in the pipeline has been in the pipeline is under the old zoning. But if you're a new applicant as of April 1, if this extension lapse, you would have to apply under the new zoning laws, correct?
Correct. So like
Ordinance.
Beltway Plaza and 7010 that were reviewed and approved under the new zoning ordinance will not have to come in conformance with that, but any new development would be required. They would not have the option to choose either one. Right now, you can develop under either one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we convey this letter to the county council for their meeting tomorrow. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That does pass. Hey, thank you, Miss Ruby.
You're welcome.
Let's see, Jenny, you had a couple of questions. I can give a real quick report on the legislative meeting, just in terms of a couple of bills. If it's council's will to do that, I'll do my best. You know, crossover date was Monday. That's when bills needed to be cross-filed both on the House and the Senate side in order to move forward. Then they would be reconciled. So there's a lot of jockeying around. Some of the bills that we opposed, were cross-filed and are moving ahead, particularly the HB 396, which had to do with a telecommunications tax, and another bill which the resources, instead of going directly to the schools, would be at the discretion of the county executive, but that is moving forward. There's a bill, the stormwater management bills that PGCMA advocated for. They are moving forward. Senate Bill 191, which would provide a tax credit for teachers who were moving to Prince George's County. That's moving forward. I don't think that our amendment, though, suggesting that that teachers who are currently living in Prince George's County should also get the tax credit. But there's a hearing, or there was a hearing, and our letter was submitted. And finally, the Senate Bill 747 and House Bill 165, which put into place some audit reporting requirements for municipalities. That is definitely moving forward. There's a hearing on April 2nd. Jenny, did you want to comment on any of those bills? There were a couple of bills in particular that you pointed out that you wanted to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I can't remember the number of the bill, but it was the bill, we had talked about it here, concerning allowing a licensed civilian to review traffic infractions, the camera traffic infractions. And that has crossed over, but it's crossed over with an amendment that now it only applies to municipalities without police departments. So it kind of like defeats the purpose for, frankly, the majority of Prince George's County municipalities. So, and we did, I think, write a letter in support of it. But I mean, I think we should just consider writing a letter saying, we are in support of this without this amendment, because that was something that our chief expressed would be helpful to the police force. Because, I mean, I think he said like a sworn officer could just spend like dozens of hours reviewing these tape videos and images. So it's not really the best use of a sworn officer when you can have a civilian trained to review those. So I was thinking maybe we could issue a letter just saying we supported it as originally written without the amendment. And I know PGCMA has tried to figure out why they added this amendment. We don't really know why they did that, because it just seems to defeat the whole purpose of the bill.
Right. My take, PGCMA, I think they talked about writing a letter. I think it's almost really too late. I mean, it's gone, it's crossed over, and the amendment is in there. So at this point, I'm not sure that writing a letter would be very impactful. We've got I could talk a little bit about bills that did not cross over. Jay Davis, do I see your hand up? That pencil up in the air? There you go.
Jay Davis, Greenbelt East. The reason why there's such a problem with the speed cameras and who's going to look at it is because there's a fairly good proportion or percentage of the General Assembly that does not want us even to have speed cameras. So anytime speed cameras come up, there's always a temptation that they'll just do away with it. So this was a way to get at least the cities that don't have a police department the ability to have speed cameras. Up to this point, they've had speed cameras, but they've had to allow other municipalities that had a police department actually doing the certification. So in a way, it's getting a little bit of what we want without encouraging this portion of the General Assembly to say, well, why do you need the speed cameras at all? So yeah, it's something that we'll have to keep working on in the future, but at least it's a little bit of something, which is sometimes in making legislation, that's what you do. You compromise and then you go for the next piece the next year.
There you go. So real quick, I could just go over a couple of bills that did not cross over. House Bill 1059, which was submitted by Delegate Holmes, which would have given cities of 15,000 or more some limited land zoning and land use authority, did not cross over. The House Bill 88, which has to do with sound level meters to deal with cars and motorcycles with modified mufflers, that did not cross over. There was House Bill 395, a local bill which would have provided early childhood education centers located in schools, challenged schools. That did not go over. Also, there was House Bill 838, local bill funding for home-based child care. And finally, several of the juvenile justice bills that had been advocated for by our state's attorney and by our county executive did not make it across. So the session is a huge number of bills, about 3,000 bills. And what someone said on the call with PGCMA this morning is that because there are so many bills, the delegates and senators are being a little bit more strategic in just kind of getting behind a few bills. And so a lot of really worthwhile bills that have been proposed just are not getting traction because there's just too many bills. So that's a quick summary of what went on in the PGCMA meeting, legislative committee meeting this morning. Any other comments or thoughts or suggestions or motions about legislation to support or oppose? Well, hearing none, I want to thank Mr. George and Mr. Samarone and staff for keeping us on track. And also, I thought the legislative dinner that we had was productive. It wasn't at the beginning of the session. We had that collective, all of the District 22 cities got together and presented their bond bills and their priorities at the same time. And to me, for Greenbelt, I don't think that really served our purposes that well. Although our delegates are very, very engaged and they are definitely listening. So we'll have to continue working to promote our legislative priorities throughout the year, not just around the session. Yes.
Well, since we're talking about if we want to, do we want to specify, respond to the question from the petitions and requests about who was there? I think all were invited. But we had a representative from Mel Franklin's office. We had just met with Ingrid Watson, so she was not there. And then we also had most of our delegation. I think Senator Washington was unfortunately not feeling well and wasn't able to make it. So, but we had our three delegates.
He had some surgery the day before. So. Yeah.
Correct. So we I think, and we did invite the school board representative, but he did not attend. So.
Okay. Hey, let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is other business, and that's item number, I'll just say item number 11, although it's actually item number 12, the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center storefront door and interior painting, and that's a reference from Brian Kim on March the 19th. In early February, staff attended a meeting to address building and facilities maintenance upgrades at Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center. Staff recommends installing the new main entrance door and painting the interior of the Spring Hill Lake and associated clubhouse. The main entrance door has been problematic, requiring weekly and bi-weekly servicing to maintain normal operations. The facilities maintenance manager recommended replacing it as repair costs are no longer a viable means to maintain consistent door operations. That's door openings and closings. As a part of the upgrade painting of the entire interior of the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center and Clubhouse, 3 firms were engaged and 2 firms submitted proposals. TriStar Contractor Incorporated was a low bidder and found to be the best value. Staff carefully reviewed the proposals, met with SME, and found E.J. Whitcomb and Sons and TriStar Contracting to be the best value for the main door replacement and painting services. Staff recommends that the council approve the purchase of a new door and installation to E.J. Whitcomb and Sons Incorporated in the amount of $14,225 and painting services to TriStar Contracting Incorporated in the amount of $11,500. Mr. Kim is here. Hey, Mr. Kim, can you come to the podium for just a moment?
Good evening.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for your focus on the facilities there, along with the city manager and many of our residents. I was just wondering, in looking through the information, with the clubhouse, didn't we just paint the clubhouse about a year and a half ago? The interior?
It may have been a little bit.
A little bit longer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Time fly. Well, with the
When we did the
pandemic,
total
time really does fly. So it needs the paint.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Question? Any other questions from council? Yeah, please.
I thought when we were touring over there, they were talking about. I know the door absolutely came up, but were there also discussions about the way the desk and the office in there were structured, not working for their needs? Does this incorporate any of that, or would that be something additional later?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I think we need to get together with stakeholders to flush out exactly the requirements. That's a much larger project.
Okay.
It'll take a lot more detail. So these are things that we can address very, very quickly.
Okay.
And speaking with the users of the space, I'm sorry to provide a little more context. In speaking with the users of the space, the staff identified the need for more office space. So it isn't just about redoing the reception desk, but they're also expanding the office space, reorienting the access door to the room. So currently the only door to access this space is through the multipurpose room. So if there's an activity going on in the multipurpose room, there's a constraint there of going in and out of the office space. So we need to rethink the orientation of the space, expanding the office, creating a new entryway into that office space. From a financial perspective, we're looking. Brian estimated, just throwing some numbers. I asked him, well, what could it be? And it's $150,000 and up, because we had to remove an entire wall, expand the space, add new walls. So we're looking at a much more involved project and looking for a couple $1,000s here and there to string together a repair.
That makes sense. While I was over there was a concern about the vending machine over there and people not getting their money back, or something, they put their money in there and it wouldn't drop. Are we going to be able to resolve that?
I'm sorry to hear that. The vending machines have been a source of concern for me and some members in the organization. There's some folks in the recreation department that would prefer to see them all gone. I've spoken to an employee who thought it would be a great idea to have an entrepreneurship program where our recreation participants are running the vending machines and creating a revenue stream back. We're sort of in different places with the vending machines here. Dwayne has made some improvements to the availability of items in the vending machine, and one of the vending providers didn't like the competition, so just got up and took out the machine.
Okay.
So there's no resolution on vending machines. I'm sorry. Got varying
This seems to
opinions.
be a bigger problem.
I'm kind of recalling from our tour when we did the Public Works tour of the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center that the door issue was like replacing the doors was sort of a pretty involved process that had to involve like the framing and the front walk area where you walked in. Is that all getting replaced? That whole front setup?
So the storefront, the total storefront is not. It is actually literally just the 2 doors.
Just the doors. Okay.
But
Okay.
the commercial grade carpeting on the interior side of the building, also on the opposing side, on the exit side, are also getting replaced. We found funding in our FY24 budget line items and our maintenance line items to address those.
Okay.
So
Great.
these were a little bit heavier than that. So
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Pope.
Yeah, I would like to go ahead and move that we approve the purchase of a new door and installation to E.J. Whitcomb and Sons Incorporated in the amount of $14,225 and painting services to TriStar Contractor Inc. in the amount of $11,500.
Okay. We can take a second and then continue to discuss a bit.
11,005, is it 11,550?
500.
It says on the, it said, no, but it's in a different place, it says 550. So,
There's a discrepancy. Oh,
yeah.
What are we gonna do?
We can get it done for 550, however you guys want to approve it.
Motion's already passed. We'll take the $50 as a contingency.
Okay.
Okay, was there a second?
I'll second
Okay, we'll continue with discussion. Ms. Niesel?
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you so much. I recognize that this process moved very, very quickly because it was an emergent situation. So I just wanted to thank you so much. And I did want to bring up, because it's not in here, because it's under $10,000, that the carpet is going to be replaced, just for any stakeholders who are listening at home or here.
Okay, Councilmember McKinney.
Yes, I'd like to echo that and say thank you. I know it's a lot of work, but we need to make sure that we're supporting the kids over there. So I appreciate you looking into that. The second question is more about the access to the recreation center. When we were doing the walkthrough, we were also looking at the lighting that was on the path from Franklin Park into the recreation center. And I know that there was some discussion about whether or not the light should point up or point down. And I'm just wondering if that was going to be looked at. And then in addition to that, we also looked at the possibility of doing the flashing stop sign that's actually in front of Spring Hill Lake, but it leads to the path that goes back towards and back into the recreation center. So I know that that's not specifically related to the rec center updates, but maybe we can get an update on that at a later time to see if that's possible or if it's on the existing list for upcoming updates.
A flashing beacon's a great idea in that location. I'll discuss it with Terry in Public Works. For the lights, I feel fortunate that Miss Caroline was there, so we were able to walk the trail with her about the lights. So at the time, it was super bright. So the angle, we couldn't see the angle of the lights, but the lights are pointing up. Brian Kim and the team are going to return during the nighttime to assess the light angle, and we'll adjust the light as necessary. So there's some miscommunication about who wanted the lights pointing up or down. We're just going to send someone out to take a look at the light angle, and we'll take it from there. If someone complains that it's pointing down, we'll figure that out.
Thank you.
Did I miss it?
Oh, no, sir. So yeah, we'll do that with our street inventory when we check all the lights in the city. So we'll make sure we hit that.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. We have a question from the public. Two. Mr. Orleans.
Thank you, Orleans again. Since I don't have the full package, I can't skim it for what I have been told in the past is going to be a standard default contract item in all of our vendors' contracts. So I'm just asking to be certain. For both of these small contracts, both of these vendors know that they must pay a living wage. That's in the contract?
Yeah, that is something, you've asked this question before, and the response, as always, is that, that's embedded in our contracting process. So, yes. Yes, please.
Mr. Mayor, there are sometimes contracts that they're just so small that they'll just be a quote and not a contract where we flush out the language. But we do encourage our contractors pay a living wage. And with so small, there's times there's no room to.
But it is our general policy. Right. Yes, please, if you could step up to the microphone.
My name is Reuben Scott. I'm a resident here in Greenbelt. Concerning the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center, I've been asked, have they considered making the bathrooms more child-friendly and adding changing stations in the bathrooms, which they don't have?
Let's see, Mr. Samaron.
I support those activities, so we'll get that done right away. I was in there last week, and I apologize I missed that, but I think that's a good practice to have in all of our public restrooms.
Yeah,
We'll look into that and take care of that, because I think that there should be changing stations in there.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Is the water bottle filler working again?
It is, and
Okay.
it's one of those things that apparently it breaks often, and it just gets repairs. The team has repaired them, so they're working. It was working last week when I was there, and it was working the time that we walked the property back in February.
Okay, let's see, we have a motion on the floor. I don't see any further discussion. Is there anybody online? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you so much. Let's move on to item number 12, which is ball field improvements from the American Rescue Plan Act project, Schramm Hills Park Multipurpose Field, the Braden Complex Fields 1 and 2. And the reference is from CPJ and Associates on March 13th, 2024. City Council previously approved the disbursement of $2.35 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds for a ball field improvement project. Due to the complexity and time-sensitive nature of the project, staff recommends the project management services of Charles P. Johnson and Associates Incorporated, CPJ, at a cost of $190,133. City Council recently approved a contract with CPJ for on-call services. Greg Varda from the Recreation Department is here. Greg, could you step up to the microphone, please? Good evening.
Good evening.
So do you want to kind of break this down to us just in terms of the cost, the need for a project manager to actually get this done? And also, I'm going to ask just about the time frame of these projects and what the impact is going to be on recreation programs.
Yeah, so the scope of work on this project is going to involve pulling permits such as electrical, plumbing, building, sediment control. It's so broad, I don't think it's something the city can manage in a timely fashion. We're on the clock when it comes to the ARPA money, so we need to move quickly. As for the fields, our hope is to get started on this project late this summer. Certainly some fields are going to be closed down as the work goes on. I would estimate that each organization might lose a season, and we'll do our best to find a field for them to practice and play on during that time span.
Okay, you mentioned pulling permits, and by that you meant filing permit modifications with the county and the state in some cases. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Right. And just in terms of the impacts, so it's a lot of work, and this is a project that people have prioritized for quite some time. You know, we've heard from the Greenbelt Boys and Girls Club and just numerous organizations, Little League, Babe Ruth Baseball and whatnot, that the condition of the outfield and the football area over on Braden Field is hazardous, somewhat hazardous because of inconsistency in divots and whatnot in the ground out there. So, but displacing recreational activity for a season is a big deal when our fields are at a premium to begin with. So I'm just wondering, in terms of phasing, would this all be happening concurrently, or would it be Braden Field 1 first, then Braden Field 2, and then Schramm Hills Park, or would it all be at the same time?
Yeah, I think you're going to see it happen at the same time. I can't give you a schedule yet, but once this gets approved, we can sit down with CPJ, work out that schedule, and I'm happy to report back to council once we have that ironed out. Our goal is to improve the the playing surface for all the organizations. As Councilmember Pope and Mayor Jordan been on council a long time, every recognition group work session, you hear from all the organizations that want a better playing surface. So we think we can finally address that. Public Works is purchasing $300,000 in new equipment to help improve the playing surface once we get it in place. And we think this project can hopefully be done quickly enough so these organizations only lose one season.
Right. And, bottom line on this, the funding is from the American Rescue Plan. These are projects that we would not ordinarily have the capacity to undertake. And it's an investment in our recreational infrastructure. And as you've just stated, year after year, we've been told so many times that we need to improve the field condition. So I'm just wondering, the fall, so we're really talking about football season and soccer mostly.
Yeah, and baseball has a fall season as well. So yeah, we're talking about each organization. So, but the bottom line at the end of the day, they're going to have a better place to play. The other part of this is improving the fan experience as well. We have a lot of ADA issues getting to our fields. Our bleachers aren't up to code, so we're going to be replacing them as well. So this is going to be a better experience for the players, coaches, and the fans.
People. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I just wonder, I think you've touched on some of the aspects of it, the ADA improvements and improving the surface, but could you just sort of give the thumbnail of what the goals are, what we're trying to do with the fields besides just, improving the surface?
Yeah, so, right, we have multiple users. All of our facilities are used by multiple organizations. So one season ends, the next season begins. It's, the fields are constantly being used. So what we want to do is, make the fields level, get a nice grass that, won't cause pitting or anything like that. And for the spectator, some of our fields are hard to get through. There's no sidewalks leading to our fields. So we want to make sure that we have sidewalks and they can get into our bleachers easier than it is now. We're supposed to have railings on our bleachers. We don't have that. So the field just needs an upgrade. We're going to improve the lighting as well. Where we move some candlesticks and make the lamps LED. All the way around, it's going to be a better Schramm Hills Park, soccer field and Braden Field, the Little League field, the baseball field, and the football field are all going to be better.
But presumably it'll have to go through a period of either reseeding or sodding before it's finished. Right. So there's some underlying work and then putting in new grass.
Yeah, it's going to be both sodding and seeding, I would suspect. Okay. Yeah. And we're going to have irrigation at Schramm Hills Park.
So can I have a motion to adopt these recommendations? We already voted?
We already approved this.
Oh, we already
this was
approved
just
this.
So
okay.
we don't need to do anything.
Oh, okay. Well, communication is...
Sorry, this is approval. This is the approval of a contract for project management services. Charles P. Johnson and Associates is... We use their engineering services, so we're tapping into that relationship and expertise to do project management. This would take care of scope of work, project oversight, quality assurance. So this is project management services for those field improvements.
So I think what was previously approved was the broad project with ARPA money, but not this specific project management by Charles P. Johnson and Associates. Well, you want to?
I just had a quick question, if I could, please. I've heard from different organizations that they've had communications with your department about this. Just for the record, how are you involving stakeholders and the people who use the fields in this process?
Yeah, we met with Little League several times. We met with Babe Ruth Baseball, met with Orrin Howard from Boys and Girls Club, and talked to GSA leadership as well, Greenbelt Soccer Alliance. The football players, the soccer players would like synthetic turf, but obviously that's not going to happen. So we think this is the next best thing for them.
And this is a little beyond scope, but but I hope that it's something that you can speak to in the future, if not tonight. If you are considering any additional means by which to protect these fields when they've been restored. I know
Yeah,
that we have, especially over at Strom Hills, a huge problem with unauthorized use.
Yeah, our recommendation is to put a fence up around that field once it's complete and then control access. Very similar to what we do with our facilities, our gyms, permitted out. Still allow free play for families, but we need to take care of that grass. We can't leave it open. We have a hard time with adult users that come to the field and actually have organized soccer games. And they don't particularly care about the weather, if the field's wet or not. So if we don't control access, we could be throwing a lot of money down the drain.
Let's see, with Strom Hills, are we going to be rehabilitating the basketball courts that are over there?
That's not on our schedule. Brian, Mr. Kim and I could talk about that later.
Okay,
we can take a look at them.
Yeah, they're not in the greatest shape, I don't think. I haven't looked at them recently, like in the past 6 months. Hey, is there a motion and,
I move that that we authorize the hiring of project management services from Charles P. Johnson and Associates, Inc. at a cost of $190,133 for the project management for the ball field improvements.
Second.
Thank you. We have a comment from Mr. Orleans.
Thank you, Bill Orleans. Again, I have a question, not a comment. Unlike the momentary confusion on council a minute ago about what had been approved and when, I actually don't recall this, but I'm sure it must have happened since it says here it happened previously. But the 2.35 million in ARPA funds for ball field improvements, was that with a specific contractor in mind, or was that with the city's public works department in mind? I don't remember the details, but I'm sure they exist somewhere. My question tonight is, why does it need project management? Between the recreation department, which has fine staff and upper level staff, and the public works department, which has fine staff and upper level staff, why is there a need to contract with a project management service? I see here that Charles P. Johnson has recently been approved a contract for on-call services. They may provide very fine project management services, but why do we need a project manager? If you know what needs to be done and we've got the people or the contractors to do it, just follow the plan of what needs to be done. Why do we need an outside project manager?
Well, thank you, and I think Mr. Varda, answered that question initially after I asked. Mr. Varda, would you like to repeat yourself?
Yeah, the scope of the project is so broad, and the amount of permits that need to be pulled at the county level, this project's going to take a lot of attention, and I have to run a recreation department as well. So, and Mr. Kim has to run a public works department. And this isn't the only project on our table. There are other projects where we don't have project management. We're currently working on six different projects, which isn't normal. So we need some help. Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, that actually, before you go, Greg, one follow-up question. This 190,000 will be part of that 2.35 million. So the project management funding is coming out of the ARPA money as well, just to make that perfectly clear.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yep.
And further clarification, the 2.35 million was approved as part of the ARPA allocation. So council approved that pot of money being spent on those projects. It is it's a council requirement that any contract related to that activity above $10,000 needs council approval. So you approved the pot, but each contract associated with it has to come back.
There'll be multiple contracts within this project, and we'll be looking for rideable contracts as well. Through Park and Planning and other agencies. But we'll bring that back to you as we move forward with the project.
Okay, thank you so much. All in favor of allocating $190,133 to CPJ Associates to manage the completion of this ARPA funding project on the athletic fields, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries 6-1. I'd like to make a motion to special order item number 20 to the next item on the agenda. That would be the item having to do with the municipal building, Finance Department planning. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Let's go ahead and move to item number 20.
Thank you, Council. This was meant to be an information sharing item. We, as you know, we're running out of space. We're tight in here, so we're looking for any incremental improvements to the space to accommodate staff. So this is one that was presented by a citizen, and they sketched that out. And you know that I love to get help where I can, and this is one that it's a great idea. We went through several iterations of a space layout, including furniture, investing in furniture, cubicle style, and this turned out to be the best option. The team that's working there in the space now appreciated this option, so we think it's a prudent decision to make these small incremental improvements to the space to accommodate staff.
Yeah, thank you so much. The reason why I pulled it off the consent agenda is, I think it's important for us to communicate the discussions that we were having, looking at concepts for a new municipal building. I get the impression, from reading the news review, which I do every week and refer to it often, that, we were imminently about to build a new municipal building, which is not the case. So we are taking steps and, sizing up exactly the funding that we have and looking far out into the future, but we are not about on the verge of building a new municipal building, just to put that to rest. So you mentioned someone, a resident, actually sketched this out?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty. Did they come to your office with a pencil and just do it right there on the spot?
Put out the sketches and the memo they put together and calculated the space requirement for seating, and yes, it was very well done. Good recommendation.
It's good looking. Anybody like to make a motion? Well, it's information, yeah.
I guess I wasn't going to pull it off the consent agenda, but I have a question. I just didn't seem worth pulling it off the consent agenda. I was just going to ask later. But it said that there's a front service window with a separate bell for each department in the shared area. I was trying to figure out, just visualize how that would work, because there's one window now, but is the idea to have then, and does that go into finance? Where does the window go now?
Currently, it's a manual bell. So
Okay.
And there's 4 different teams down there: economic development, HR, grants, finance, and DEI. Oh, so that's 5.
It's a separate bell, not a separate window.
Right. So right now
That's what I was trying to figure out. Where are the separate windows? How is there a separate window for each department, but it's just separate bells? Okay.
The idea is there will be a.
Okay, that makes sense. So it calls whoever is necessary to the window. I was just trying to picture when I walked in this evening where multiple windows were going to fit. Okay, I get it now.
In the door to this new space is where there's an existing utility window with a closing aluminum gate shade. So we'll cut that out to make the entry door there, and we'll close off the wall in the finance department.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I see our human resource director back there looking quizzically at the plan, thinking, what does this mean for me? But we have a question. Mr.
Signed off on it.
He signed off on
Yes.
it. Mr. Rand?
Yeah, Bob Rand, 19 Bridge Road. Actually, I have an agenda question. The online agenda has an item 13 for ARPA status update. Was that removed from the agenda?
I believe that was removed.
Okay. All right. I didn't hear anything about that. Thank you.
Okay. So that's an information item. We don't need to take an action on that. That would bring us back to council activities. I added a few.
Yeah, no, I think they're, I can pull it up. Give me a second.
Added it to the spreadsheet this time.
And
I did too.
so I think I have it. Well, no, what I moved them over to the other sheet because I think it's cleaner to look at. But yeah, just share. Okay. So don't know if lots of things. I think many of us were on the tour with, sorry, there's an, people want to call things out that they want to note specifically.
I'd like to note the Women's History Month event at Spring Hill Lake Elementary was excellent. Our DEI officer, Tyra Smith, was the keynote speaker, and she did an excellent job. So I just wanted to lift her up for that. It was really great.
I'd like to mention something that happened over in Shrom Hills Park on the 20th of March. The Baha'i community was celebrating an annual day of service over in the park, and I saw something on Facebook about it and just went over there thinking that I would help out a bit. But it turns out they were dedicating a new sign with an interesting quote on the Three Sisters Garden, and it's a large group, and I think there's going to be a photograph in the news review, but it was nice to see what they were doing with the Three Cities Garden, and also just to see collectively their focus on community service and doing things local is very inspiring.
A couple of things I might mention. The Transportation Planning Board did a work session about the Visualize 2050 plan that is open for public comment until the end of this month. There was some information I can report more on it later. I need to actually read through the full thing. I went to the work session, but I haven't actually read through the whole plan. But that's, I think, an important one that will come. They presented on it at this month's meeting, and then I think it will come back. Some of the public feedback will be consolidated for the April meeting, and then I think we actually vote on it in the May meeting. And there were definitely some things brought up about some of the some of the ways the funding was being allocated and how some of the projects listed, how they were sort of ranked, and some of that may end up getting sorted out through some of the public comments. So that was interesting. Also, the Friends of the Greenbelt East stakeholder meeting, and I know Jamie Fuhrer from city staff was on there, so I know she has all the details. But they do have the preliminary feasibility study from the grant that was put forward, the SHA was doing, and so that is moving forward. And I think the next step is I think they're incorporating some feedback into that feasibility study, and then are going to try to do some of it out of some of the planning out of SHA funding, hopefully, although there probably will be some needs for some other funding, but only a very small part of that is actually within the city of Greenbelt. It's just the part from Mandan Road to the Goddard Gate, or Goddard Fence. But it does look like progress is being made on that, and that's a really valuable bike connector that will be useful for Greenbelters, even if only a tiny chunk of it is technically in the Greenbelt city limits.
Let's see, I don't know, the Greenbelt Workforce Development Learn to Earn.
Oh, that was great, yeah.
Graduation happened back on the 16th. They had a graduation ceremony there in the community center on the second floor. And I don't know, there's about 13 or 14 young folks who were there. And they'd gone through the curriculum, and it's a really great program. And this is the first cohort, and it's something that is funded through the American Rescue Plan, but it actually provides some funding, to those individuals. It's learn to earn, but it's also earn to learn. But just training on being an entrepreneur, how to apply for jobs, how to get into the workforce, and this is a very well designed program through Pathways Incorporated, which is an entity, a nonprofit that we've worked with for quite some time. It's a good program.
Yep, it's a very nice program.
Yeah. Anybody want to make any other comments about things that have happened over the past week or two? Well, this is coming up in the future, and we're going to talk. Councilmember McKinney.
I just wanted to call out the Career Day at Eleanor Roosevelt High School, which was really well attended by a lot of the kids. The high school team did a really nice job putting that together, and we're excited that we got a few kids, hopefully, to be interested in maybe joining the Youth Advisory Committee. So.
And I'm not sure that one got on here yet. Did I miss that one in transferring it over? Yeah, I'm not sure I got that one. That one's not on here. Yeah, I may have missed it when I was transferring things over.
It's item 61.
Shout out for our
Sorry,
Easter egg
67.
hunt, right?
Well, yeah, Ms. Pope, what
Saturday,
did you
March
say?
30th at Buddy Attic Park, our annual Easter egg hunt. So please join us at 10 a.m. sharp, ages 18 months to up to 4th grade. So it's always a good time. It's a great event. The Easter Bunny will hopefully come and visit.
Ooh.
And so yeah, please come out this Saturday, March 30th. 10 a.m. at Buddy Attic Lake.
And you have to be there on time or you won't get any eggs.
Dude, it's an amazing event. I don't. Yeah, it's. I wouldn't say competitive, but the recreation department puts a lot of eggs out there, and over the course of about 10 minutes, they're all gone. I don't. So it's pretty amazing. It's a big deal. It's great for the kids. Great for the parents to come and watch. And yeah, I was about to say the Easter Bunny is going to be spending quite a bit of time in Greenbelt in the morning. They will be in Buddy Attic Park, but in the afternoon, I think they will be making another stop in Greenbelt.
The Easter Bunny is going to stop in at the American Legion right up here on Greenbelt Road. And I'm just going to tell you what time this Easter Bunny is going to arrive. I think it's 1 o'clock from 1 to 2, or from 1 to 2, I believe. The Easter Bunny will be at the American Legion. So all are welcome. So please stop by there as well.
Yep. Okay, well, that kind of brings us to the end of our council meeting, except we do need to make a motion. We need to go into an executive session.
And who, just before I make the motion, so Mr. Summerone, I think Mr. Martinez, and anyone else, any other staff that we need in the closed session? Okay. I move that council go into closed session in accordance with Section 3-305B1 of the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of the Public General Laws of Maryland. 1, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. The purpose of this meeting will be 1, to address personnel matters over which this public body has jurisdiction. In addition to council, City Manager Salmaron and Director of Human Resources Dwayne Martinez will be in the session. Note that council will not return to open session following this closed session.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Pope has seconded. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Ms. Niesel?
Yeah.
Mr. Roberts?
No.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, so let's see. Do I adjourn the meeting, then we go into executive session? Is that how it works? Okay, well, I hereby adjourn this council meeting. Thank you.